Here we are, Mr. Whipple. Your files. Now let's examine the record for your last month's service.
Look, I'm not going to pay for something I didn't use. Continue my service 1 month while I was away. Now, why didn't you do it?
Well, let's try to find out why. Can you recall when you notified us?
I don't remember exactly. It must have been sometime during the last week of July, just before I went away on vacation.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Whipple. I can find no record of your notification.
Well, that's not my fault. Look, just because you didn't make a record, don't penalize me. That's your headache, not mine.
Can you remember whom you saw when you came in here?
I didn't come in. I did it over the phone.
Well, I don't find any record of it. Are you sure you called us?
Yes, I'm sure I called. Now, look, you people goofed. You failed to make a record of it, and now you're trying to weasel out of it. Well, I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Why do I get all the characters? Well, but remember, the customer's always right. Mr. Whipple, may I point out to you how our service department operates? The customer calls up to discuss his service. He's connected to a service representative. Now, the service representative makes a notation of the customer's call on this pad in quadruplicate. One copy goes into a master file. The second goes to the department concerned, in your case, the field service. A third goes into the customer's file, and a fourth copy remains in the service representative's file. I've checked through all of those files and find absolutely no record of your order having been received. The order might have been misplaced in one file, but it couldn't have been lost from all four. Now, do you see the logic, sir, for assuming that somehow you forgot to call us about disconnecting your service?
I don't see the logic in anything. All I see is that here is a big organization trying to push a little person around. Now, listen, I don't have time to stand here and argue with you. I've got to get going. I'm in a hurry. I have to be going. I have to be going. Look, I'm in a hurry. I've got to get going. I've got to get going. I'm in a hurry. I've got to get going.
I promised to get a book for my wife, but I'm not sure where it's located.
It's very simple. Go to the card catalogs and look up the book under author or title. Then fill out the request slip and take it to the main counter. I'll be glad to help you if you have any trouble.
Well, that's the trouble. I don't know. Or the title.
Well, if you don't know what you're looking for, there's very little we can do for you. Do you know the subject matter of the book?
It's about a new method of killing weeds. My wife thinks the government put it out, but she's not sure.
You call your wife and get exact information?
She's not home now, and I haven't time to make a trip. I'm late for work already. Look, isn't it time to try to help people to figure these things out?
Yes, if you would only be precise. After all, we are librarians, not mind readers.
It's a new book. I don't see any reason.
The research librarian will be back in 15 minutes. If you care to wait, perhaps she can give you the intensive assistance you require.
Boy, did she make me feel stupid. But stupid or not, she's supposed to help people. All she's interested in is those books.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shepard, but we simply can't approve your loan application.
But, Mr. Hicks, I have to have that money. We can really improve the whole appearance of the house. You people hold the mortgage on it. Aren't you interested in my increasing the value of the property?
Oh, of course. But we're also involved in carrying your automobile loan. Frankly, Mr. Shepard, on your salary and with your commitments, we couldn't risk another loan. Extremely poor banking policy.
I've been regular in my mortgage and car payments.
We're aware of that. We appreciate it very much. I'm sorry, but I have an extremely important lunch engagement, so if you'll excuse me.
I gave up my lunch hour to discuss this loan with you. It's important to me and my wife.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I wish I could offer you something more than my regrets.
I've been a customer of this bank for 4 years. You must consider that.
We do. Very aware of it. But we also have our rules. Thanks for coming in. Stop in again anytime.
Rules. Sure, you've got rules. Everybody has. But why hit a guy over the head with them? Can't you try to help? I feel like pulling my account out and going to the bank across the street.
Mr. Bueller? Shepard? Well, you're on pretty early this month, Miss Shepard. Any particular reason?
This, the inventory control.
I don't understand. I checked this out myself last week. It's complete to the last decimal.
May be complete, but it's inaccurate.
What? That's impossible.
Tell that to the inventory clerk in our warehouse. He thought he was in pretty good shape with his supply of 132s. Then he checked and found there's a big discrepancy between this printout and his master file.
Did he check all of his records?
He spent the whole morning on it. Then he hit the ceiling and spent another half hour beefing about it.
Well, I'm sorry it happened. But you see, we've got a new man on the machine, and he just isn't...
These will have to be rechecked also. I can't risk any of your errors on the accounts receivable printouts either.
When do you need them?
Tomorrow noon.
It can't be done.
Why not?
We're swamped. Schedule's solid on the machines for the next 2 days. We won't be able to get back to your work until day after tomorrow.
We can't wait. We have to start work on our billings tomorrow afternoon. You hold us up and really run up our overtime.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shepard. I just work here. I don't make company policy. You'll have to wait your turn like everybody else.
That'll throw our whole office schedule out of whack.
We might like to, Mr. Shepard, but we can make exceptions. If we did, we couldn't meet our promised schedules. Sorry. Very sorry. Yes?
Their schedules. What about my schedules? Can't anyone see things from my point of view? Everybody's just a number these days. Impersonal. Can't we have all these new mechanical brains and still have some feeling and consideration for the other fellow and his problems?
I'm in a hurry. I've got to get going.
I can appreciate that, but we have no proof of your calling in. And how can I change the rules?
We're getting nowhere. Maybe I better see someone who has a little more authority.
Authority? If I had the authority, I'd change the rules. But I've got a job to do. Sure, I know I must listen, be polite, interested. But the question is, how can I do my job, stick to the company rules, and at the same time make him happy? Well, what could that librarian have done? What if her attitude were different? What if everyone made a little extra effort to make their job worthwhile?
Miss, I'm in a hurry. I've got to get going.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
I promised to get a book for my wife, but I don't know where to find it.
Do you know the author or the title?
No. You see, my lawn's been invaded by crabgrass, and Mrs. Hudson, who lives down the street, has a perfect lawn and told my wife she got a book from the library that told about some new method of killing weeds. Can you help me?
We can't let the library be defeated by crabgrass. If the book is in the library, we'll find it. Let's try garden. No, there's nothing there. How about horticulture?
How about just plain old-fashioned weeds?
Oh, it's possible. Never let it be said we left any card unturned. Now, it might well be a pamphlet rather than a book. Let's try government. U.S. Department of Agriculture. Better lawns. Good. U.S. Department of Agriculture. Catalog number AL77514. Here.
Thanks a lot. I didn't mean to put you to so much trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. It's my job. Besides, it was a challenge. If we librarians didn't have puzzlers like this, our minds would get as dusty as those old magazines in the basement.
My wife will certainly appreciate this, too.
Well, let me know how she makes out. I have some crabgrass sneaking into my lawn, too.
Maybe. But I can say this for certain. There's none in your library.
What a difference. All she was doing was her job, but she enjoyed it and made it a challenge, not a chore. What a difference it would make if everyone made a little extra effort to make their job worthwhile.
You see, Mr. Hicks, my wife and I figured that if we added the extra room and bath, we could get some additional income from it. We're pretty close to the college, and there are always students looking for a place to live.
It's a good idea, but I'm afraid we'll have to refuse your request. Hello? Oh, yeah, Larry. No, I'm tied up. Hey, why don't you go ahead to the restaurant with the others and I'll catch up to you there.
I'm sorry if I'm holding up your lunch.
Forget it. Lunch can wait.
Right now, let's discuss why, under sound banking policy, I have to refuse your application. We're carrying the mortgage on your house and the loan on your car, right?
Well, I don't have any extra collateral to put up, but I do have a good job.
You've got an excellent reputation, and we've had good relations with you here at the bank. You're a good and appreciated customer. We want to keep you happy.
But if you don't give me this loan...
By the nature of its business, banks demand regular repayment of loans. And with your commitments to us on the house and on your car, you might run into difficulties. But according to your financial statement, you've paid in quite an amount on your life insurance policy. I feel sure that the life insurance people will grant you a long-term loan on your policy.
But how much?
Up to 95% of its cash value.
That much? Will there be a lot of red tape?
I doubt it. I know Mr. Streeter over there. Why don't I call him and ask him?
Oh, sure, Mr. Hicks. That would be great. Coming from my banker, it would mean a lot.
I'll call him after lunch, and then I'll phone you.
You think he'll approve?
I can almost say you can bank on it.
Well, I'd really appreciate that.
After you get the car paid off, I'd suggest you work out a repayment schedule on the insurance policy. I'll help you work one out if you like.
You've got a customer there.
All right.
And thanks a lot. Can you beat that? Me thanking him, and after he turned me down. That's it. He turned the loan down. Not me.
Well, these printouts just don't match the master file at the warehouse.
That's odd. Are you sure it's not an error by somebody in your inventory control?
They spot check their supplies in every single bin. It matches their files, but not these printouts. We're busy reordering like mad. You'll just have to run the tapes through the machine again. And do the same thing with the accounts receivable figure in case they have mistakes.
All right. We'll get to work with them just as soon as we can.
When'll that be?
End of the week.
Come on now, we can't wait that long for those figures. We have to have them by tomorrow noon. We've got to start working our monthly bills then.
We can't do it. Our machines are booked up for the next 2 days.
We can't have our billing clerks just sitting around for 2 days doing nothing. You have an obligation to us, a big one.
I recognize that. Let's see. Could you possibly wait a day or two on your inventory control checks? All right. Then let's try to squeeze your accounts receivable work in tomorrow morning. And we can have part of it done by noon and the rest by late afternoon. That do the trick?
With a little juggling, I think we can do it. Thanks
Good.
a lot.
I'll have a messenger run over those new tapes just as soon as they're ready.
A compromise, but a necessary one. Bueller's attitude certainly was different. He really tried to see things from my point of view. And that's just what I'm going to try with Mr. Whipple. I'm sure we can work out something together. Let's examine the facts from your point of view.
Look, the fact is that I'm expected to pay for something I didn't use, and I'm not going to stand for it.
I can understand how you'd be annoyed. You believed you canceled in good faith.
I called. At least I told my wife to call.
Oh, your wife called.
Well, even if we slipped up, I don't see why we should have to pay for something that we didn't use.
Well, I'm afraid it's a company rule. The service was there for you.
Now, my opinion is that your company rule is unfair. Now, can't you make some sort of exception?
Mr. Whipple, may I ask you a personal question? What business are you in?
I own a garage.
And you have rules for your customers?
Yeah, sure. Mostly about making payments.
Well, how about other things? For instance, do you take orders for repair work over the telephone?
No. No, folks usually just drive in, I look over the car, make some sort of an estimate, and if they want, why, they order the work.
They just tell you to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Oh, now, wait a minute. You're not going to excuse yourself by throwing a smokescreen up about my business.
Well, Mr. Whipple, you most certainly try to give your customers the best possible service. Therefore, you must require pretty definite instructions from them, things you can both agree on. You ask them to sign the order sheet, don't you?
Yeah, sure. It's required by law.
Well, sure it is. But as a rule, don't you find it has a lot of practical advantages for you?
Yeah, I guess so. Sure saves a lot of misunderstanding later on.
Such as the misunderstanding facing us now?
Yeah, right. You're right. I guess I jumped the gun on him. I should have talked to my wife before I barged in.
I'm sorry we got mixed up. I hope everything's okay now.
Yeah, I admit I was wrong. Well, the only thing that bothers me is paying for something that I did.
Well, Mr. Whipple, I'll discuss the matter with my supervisors, see if they'll grant you some sort of a credit.
Oh, you think they might?
Well, I doubt it, but I'll try.
Thanks. Well, bye, Mr. Shevard. And I'm sorry if I caused you any trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. After all, you are our customer. We want to take good care of you. Maybe there's a lot more to dealing with people than presenting the logic of your own viewpoint. You've got to win people over by understanding how they feel. Maybe the secret of meeting the public is to put yourself in their shoes, on their side. Do I just work here? Hello. May I help you?